as you rest, see if the sensation of gradually sinking into the floor becomes available. You just start to feel how you're supported by the floor, and you can rest. Beginning to notice those little areas where unconsciously we were working. And maybe you feel the little releasing of muscular tension, effort that you weren't even aware. Pay attention that your teeth are not touching. Your lips can be touching if you want, but that there's the slightest amount of space between your two teeth. And then, where's your tongue? Where is the tongue in your mouth? And feel your contact. And then very slowly, bring your arms forward towards the ceiling. And just keep a certain amount of space between your arms. The hands are not going to touch right now. You might want to think that you're holding something softly between your hands. You don't have to. You're looking for that sensation that the arms elongated forward towards the ceiling. Your shoulder blades are the platform you're standing on. Your arms are situated in the shoulder joint, which is the shoulder blade, and they're resting in the vertical. And when the arms are in the vertical like this, there's less muscular effort in the arms. Elbows can be soft, wrists can be soft. And then very slowly begin to gently lift the right shoulder blade that elongates the right arm towards the ceiling. Maybe you exhale when you do that. And then as you're bringing the right shoulder blade back to the floor, you inhale. And once the right shoulder blade lands, you elevate the left shoulder blade, lengthening the left arm forward towards the ceiling. The wrist, the hands can stay soft. You don't have to think about you're holding anything. And start to explore what's happening when you alternate. Once the exhaling as you lift the right shoulder blade, elongating the right arm forward. And then you inhale and you bring it back, and then you're exhaling from that inhalation and you lift the left shoulder blade and the left arm lengthens. Feel what's happening in your chest, your sternum, and in the back of you, the shoulder blades and the space between the shoulder blades of your spine, the ribs, and the musculature. And then the question is, well, what happens in your neck and your head? Are they following this sensation with a subtle rolling of your head? And because your legs are long, the weight of our pelvis, the weight of our legs, how far down your spine do you feel this sensation? For many, the pelvis blocks movement traveling further. And for others, they feel it still travels. That maybe there's a little bit of shifting of weight also in the pelvis when you do this. And then as you start to notice, or you welcome a gentle, easy, passive, reflexive movement in your head, explore your eyes looking in that direction. Every time you inhale, you're returning to neutral. Every time you exhale, you're exploring the other arm, lengthening forward towards the ceiling. Notice what happens in your neck and where on the back of your skull you possibly roll, thinking of the eyes. Are they leading? Are they following? You could also, as you explore this, think of your nostrils. Are they drawing in a fragrance that's lovely? Or are they retracting from something that's, ooh, I don't like the way that smells? What's the difference in the quality of the movement of this gentle rocking and rolling? And then bring your arms down and rest. Bring your feet to stand. And go back and bring your arms forward towards the ceiling. And continue the movement that you were just exploring. But now that your feet are standing, something changed in the contour of your spine. Notice what's different and notice what else may start to want to participate. Is there an indication that as you lengthen one arm, does that foot depress gently into the floor to facilitate the lengthening of that arm forward? You inhale, you come back to neutral. And you exhale again and you alternate the other arm. You're in your own explorations, so it doesn't have to be you follow, I tell you right or left. You're just relaying and make it as easy and smooth and elegant. And notice now with feet standing, is there a little bit of a wake-up call that, oh, I can participate too? Is it just that a foot gently depresses or maybe knees start to tilt? Any of these that surface, they're viable. Don't think I wasn't told to. Listen to how something awoke within you that feels pleasant. Now, as you continue this movement, there's a side you're rolling to. How far you roll, that's up to you. But as you start to roll a little bit more to one side, maybe that arm that you're rolling to that side, the arm starts to come to the floor. The elbow starts to bend so that the upper arm and the elbow meet the floor. As that knee that tilted to the side, maybe it meets the floor also. Because you hear me say it, don't just automatically do it. Find your pathway of ease versus, oh, do it. Wait. Wait for it just happens. And if a side does open to the floor, how do you bring yourself back to neutral? You could roll through your pelvis. You could also think that that arm that was lengthening towards the ceiling, just begin to retract that shoulder blade, that arm back towards the floor. One is lengthening, one side starts to lower. And each one of you can decide, do I want to look toward the hand of the arm that landed on the floor, or do I want to look to the hand that is lengthening towards the ceiling? What's the difference? Is the timing of an elbow and a knee towards the floor simultaneous, or no, it's sequential? One goes and then the other one comes along. And you're rolling through your spine. You're rolling through the back of you. Good. And then lengthen everything and rest. Notice your contact. Now, slowly, I know we have biases, we have injuries sometimes, we have preferences. So I'm giving you a preference. Gather yourself up, maybe use the pattern we just explored to roll and come to lie on one side. But when you come to the side, I'm going to ask you, instead of using the bottom arm to rest your head on, if you feel you need head support, and you may, please use some head support that would be the equivalent of the depth, the size of your upper arm. So that when you come to lie, whether on your right side or your left, your arms are not used for your head. They are, in fact, on the floor in front of you. Like I say, the hand sandwich. One hand is on top of the other. And you stack your knees when you get to the side, one on top of the other. And just notice, did you choose your right side or your left side? And whatever head support you use, it's to make sure, and I often say, unless you're really comfortable, seek to find an alignment that your head, your neck is aligned on top of your spine, not hanging below it, not resting above it. And you just rest here and do a little bit of a scan. Now, notice your hips and knees are bent 90 degrees. Could you replicate that with your arms, meaning bend your elbows and let your forearms and hands point upwards, because they're going to do the equal and opposite of what your legs do. That's it. And just notice, for some, the elbows don't touch. For others, they do. What's the difference? Don't force them. If you need to use a filler between your arms, like sometimes we use between our knees, our legs, you can do that. But now you've replicated 90 degrees from the shoulder joint to the elbow, from the hip joint to the knee, so that the forelegs and the forearms are in the vertical, aligned with your spine. Now, very slowly, keep the hands together and begin to, like a yawn, open the top elbow away from the bottom, like it's a nice yawn. And then you return the elbow to rest, the top elbow to rest on the bottom elbow or wherever it can rest. And in your own time, you do this movement of lifting the top elbow away from the bottom, and think of it like a big smile or a yawn. And notice what your head does. You open the elbow, something happens in your shoulder blade. What happens in your head? Does your head want to follow? Again, think of all of your teleceptors. Which is the one that awakens for you first? But explore these other teleceptors, from eyes, nostrils to smell, ears to hear, and a mouth with one tongue, but an upper and lower, to explore. And feel what happens in your chest when you open the top elbow, but the legs are still slacked. So is there a little bit of a rolling of the chest, a little bit of a constraint through the pelvis and the knees, a little bit of the beginning of a twist? And what happens to the ribs on the top side? Maybe it's also happening to the ribs on the bottom side. And how do you breathe as you open the top elbow and then you lower it? And then let that go. Rest on your side in this position, unless you need to change it. It's just a brief pause. And now you keep your arms quiet, but slowly, in the same idea, begin to lift the top knee away from the bottom, but it's just the knee. Again, it's like that yawn or a smile. You see, I think of pleasant things. And the feet maintain some contact. In fact, the top foot starts to pivot on the bottom foot. If the de-weighting of the top knee feels heavy, how would you make it lighter? So every time you think to open the top knee away from the bottom knee, you could lean the bottom knee gently into the floor as a support. That's one strategy. You could also think that before you even de-weighted the knee, you might subtly begin to glide and slide that top knee and hip just a little back. That already begins the opening of the knee. That's it. Now notice what passively is happening between your elbows. Is the top elbow starting to separate from the bottom elbow? Are you beginning to bias to roll in the direction of your back, but not fully? And then use this movement to transition slowly from your side by opening the elbow, opening the knee, until you can transition to roll onto your back and rest. When you get to your back, if you did not need head support, remove whatever head support you placed there. If you need head support, by all means use it. And notice your contact. And now slowly bring your feet to stand. Bring your elbows forward towards the ceiling. Begin to alternate, lengthening one arm, the other one is moving towards the floor. You're beginning a rolling from your back until you feel your legs, all of you starts to explore, and then roll onto the other side. I see some modifications of how you're using your arms. That's excellent. Excellent. Some just shortened the lever to an elbow instead of a long arm. There's always going to be a valid reason for why we choose these modifications or adaptations for ourselves. So just realize that's your intelligent brain. And then you situate yourself on the other side. And then you just pause and rest. Because each time we transition, give yourself a subtle little scan in this new orientation, because your relationship with gravity has just changed. And when you come onto your side, replicate your arms just like your legs, 90 degrees at hips and knees, 90 degrees at shoulders and elbows. The equal and opposite of the forearms, hands are up, the forelegs and feet are down. And because you already know where it's going, start first and notice the difference of just lifting the top elbow, the hands stay together, that sense of an opening, a yawn, a smile, oh, a clamshell, an oyster shell, opening it and closing it. And feel what happens through your chest, your ribs, your head. Are there teleceptors that are beginning to figure out, what's going on here? And how do I help my head guide slowly to be curious about this opening that's happening? But notice, it's so much simpler just to move the upper torso without much going on in the lower torso. This is a little bit of a differentiation. And then after you've done the upper arm, this opening, you let the arms rest and you begin to explore this other leg. This was the bottom leg before, now it's the top leg. The de-weighting of the knee from the bottom knee, but the feet still stay in contact. There's a pivoting of your feet. And notice, automatically, does your upper torso come along? Or could you create a similar differentiation as you experienced when it was just the arm? You're intentionally selecting the beginning of a differentiation where automatically it just wanted to come along, to non-differentiate. You don't have to do a lot, just a little. And then let both the knee and the top elbow lift away, the hands, the feet pivot, stay in contact, the beginning of this rolling, and then they come back. How do you breathe when you do this? As long as you're continually breathing, and this is a rolling pattern, compare when you inhale, when you exhale, because sometimes it's just important that we're breathing efficiently, not working it. And then intentionally create a differentiation, which means when you lift the elbow, you don't lift the knee. Maybe you don't have to lift the elbow as far if you feel the knee wants to tag along. And then when you bring the elbow back, you lift the knee, but you don't lift the elbow. And feel through the center of you where this differentiation is occurring. And then slowly give up the differentiation. Use the lifting of the elbow and the top knee at the same time. Allow your head, use a teleceptor that helps your head interestingly, sensorially follow slowly and transition back onto your back. When is the moment that the hands, the feet relinquish contact to return to your back? Lay there, whether legs long, limbs long, or feet are standing, and rest. Bring your feet to stand. And now keep one foot stable. It's just standing there at your anchor, but the other foot, the other knee, tilt the knee inward as if it wanted to connect to the other knee, that's the stable leg. And then move that knee away from touching the other knee and open the knee to the side. It does not have to go to the floor, but you are allowing the knee to go inward, folding to find the other knee. And then it comes back to stand in the neutral, and then you tilt that knee outward. Notice what happens in that foot. The other foot, it's keeping you where you are, the anchor. That knee isn't doing much of anything. Maybe the foot is gently activating into the floor to say, here, we're here. The other knee, it's tilting inward, through neutral and outward. And notice which knee you chose of the two while you're resting on your back. Good. And now you pause and reverse. Use the other knee. The one that was just exploring, it stands comfortably, but without much movement. I mean, it's standing, it's supporting you, but it's not just doing the same thing that the other knee is doing. Now the other knee tilts inward to touch the knee. Feel that the foot is out to the side. Maybe you roll to the inside edge of that foot. And then you restore that knee into the vertical. And then you tilt that knee out to the side, maybe rolling to the outer edge of your foot. Just go where it's comfortable, this inward and outward movement. Feel what's happening in your pelvis, but all the way through you. Even though it's the lower half that's exploring, don't disconnect. Feel that that movement is still traveling all the way up through your spine. Good. And then you can have your feet standing in the neutral. If you want to lengthen them, do what you want right now. And bring your arms forward towards the ceiling. Only this time, bring your elbows, forearms, and hands together. That's it. Now, maybe the elbow, yeah, good. And then you bend the elbows, just like it could be a prayer position, all right? And maybe on our back, the elbows don't really want to touch. Maybe there's space between the elbows, so don't force. Don't force, just keep the hands touching. Can the hands stay, the forearms stay in the vertical plane, or are they falling toward your face? Are the upper arms at 90 degrees? Elbows bent at 90 degrees. Now, keep one arm quiet and take the other one. And the first movement we did before on the floor, keep the palms together, but take that elbow out to the side like a wing. And then bring that elbow back through neutral. And then see, just like you did with your knee, could I take that elbow inward to want to touch the other elbow? That's just quiet. If it doesn't happen, don't force. In fact, what you might notice is if you want the elbow to touch, would it be easier if you relinquish the hand and stop touching the other hand with your hand so the hand could go out to the side? And if it's problematic to do it with both arms, put one arm down and just keep one arm there in this position and move the elbow out to the side and inward. That's it. Beautiful. And now for the elbow that is moving inward and outward, couple it with the knee, the same knee. If the elbow goes out to the side, the knee goes out to the side. If the elbow goes inward towards your midline to touch the other elbow or the imagined elbow, take the knee inward to touch the other knee. Feel what's happening in your spine, your ribs, your pelvis. That's it. Beautiful. Good. And now rest. Just put it all down and rest. So now here's a question. Which side did you choose? Because I'm going to ask you, the side that you chose, please roll to the other side so that the side, the arm, the leg that you chose is the top side. So if you're exploring with your right arm and leg, you're lying on your left side. If you're exploring with your left arm and leg, you're going to the right side. And stack your hips and knees, stack your arms in this position. Seek to have your upper arms at 90 degrees, just like your thighs. And whether you are able to touch the elbows, the knees are touching, maybe it got better. Now, very slowly in this position, once, take the top elbow, keep the hands together, and lift the top elbow away. Then when the top elbow comes back and rests on the bottom elbow, keep the elbows gently touching. The bottom elbow gently touches more into the floor, and lift the top hand, wrist, and forearm as much as is available, so the only place you're really touching is your elbow. That's it. And then reverse it. One is certainly easier for most than the other. And if a rolling sensation is there, roll. Are you rolling more towards the ceiling? Or are you rolling more towards the floor? How much of you can participate in this? Beautiful. And then after you've done that a few times, come back and lie on this side. And now that same thing, do it with the top knee. The bottom leg, that leans gently, comfortable into the floor, saying, I'm here. You're supported. Move the top knee away from the bottom knee. Is it getting lighter to lift that knee? Then you put it back so it rests onto the bottom knee, and then you keep the contact of the knees, maybe even the top knee pivots into the bottom knee, so you can lift the top foreleg and foot away from the bottom foreleg and foot. And you alternate that pattern. And feel how your pelvis is rolling. In one direction is your pelvis rolling back, and the other direction your pelvis is rolling forward. And what do you notice happening in your arms? So start to allow your top elbow to go with the pattern of your bottom knee. I'm sorry, the top knee and leg. The top side is doing the same thing at the same time. So as the knee opens, the elbow opens. Like a big yawn, you start to roll toward your back. You come back, compress the knee and the elbow towards each other, and lift the foreleg and foot and the forearm and hand. Are you rolling a little bit more towards your belly? And alternate this, feeling the difference between when I open the knees and elbows, or I keep the knees and elbows compressed, and I give space between the foreleg, feet, and the forearm and hand. One direction, do I roll a little bit more towards my back? And the other one, I roll a little bit more towards my belly. What does my head do? My ribs, When do I feel that certain ribs, the accordion together, and then in the other direction, they start fanning apart? And then use this pattern to roll onto your back and rest. Which of these two patterns is going to lead you to your back, to unfold yourself and elongate and rest? Go back to the same side. Gather yourself up. If you were lying on your right side, go to the right side. If you were lying on your left, go there. It's still going to be the same top side that we just explored. Now, as you take the elbows to compress so that the top forearm and hand lift, could you lift the top knee away from the bottom knee? Just go the minute you feel your elbow lifted away from the bottom elbow. Don't go further. Yeah. And feel, where is it through the center of you that you feel one wants to dominate the other? Now, if I said reverse it, as you want to pivot the top knee on the bottom knee, lifting the top foreleg and foot into the air, open the top elbow away from the bottom elbow. Was that easier? What makes that easier? Is it something through your chest? Where is the changeover? And then once it's clear, alternate this differentiating pattern. Notice which one is easier for you. And it's interesting. It's interesting that for some, one pattern is easier than the other, and for another, it's the reverse. But feel what's happening through your torso. And where is that place in your spine that you can feel, that's the changeover. One portion is rolling forward, the other one is rolling back, and then it reverses. Good. And then rest on this side. Just rest. And now give up the idea that the top arm and the bottom arm have to maintain contact with the bottom side, but lift at the same time, bent the top arm as it is, the bottom leg as it is, and draw the elbow and the knee towards each other and then away from each other. That's it. So you're folding, flexion, and then extending, opening. And how far you want to open. Make sure the knee stays bent. If you want to take the knee and open the hip and send the foot and the knee back behind, that's great. You don't have to. But now in a different plane, bringing them together, the elbow and the knee, and then away from each other. Which direction rolls you a little bit more to your back? Which direction rolls you a little bit more towards your belly? And then find which of these two patterns either will work. that will lead you to roll to your back and rest. You can either carry the limbs into the air, or you can return them to the floor to slide along the floor to return to your back. And rest. Listen to your breathing, those areas that are settling in into the floor. Whatever feels different, and I hope different in a positive sense. You're breathing. And then slowly transition onto the other side. You can use the pattern of lengthening both arms, standing the feet, just the way we started on our back. It's rolling. Whether we start from the back or the side or whatever orientation. How do our parts as a whole come along, whether differentiated or simultaneous? And then rest on this other side. Now you know the pattern. So don't do anything. Dream it. It was the opening of the knee, away from the bottom knee. The bottom leg rests comfortably into the floor. The foot is still pivoting. We did that with the arm, the upper elbow, the hands maintain contact. This is the opening, the yawn, the smile. And then you reversed it. The elbow and the knee pivot on each other so that the foreleg forearm can lift. And feel your ribs, what's happening there, your pelvis. In which direction are you rolling? Is your head following? And is there a specific teleceptor that awoke for you that gets your attention? Our sensory organs are there to help inform us of information that comes in through our senses, that awakens, I have to attend to something, or I'm really safe, this is good. And then once you've imagined, begin to explore. You can do the movements together, the elbow and the knee opening, and then the elbow and knee pivoting on the bottom side so that the foreleg, forearm lift. Once that's clear, one is rolling you more towards your belly, the other one is rolling you more towards your back. Might you begin to differentiate that they're each doing but the equal and opposite? What's the easier pattern you go with? Is it the knee lifts, but the elbow stays pivoting and the forearm lifts? Or is it the reverse? The knee pivots on the bottom knee, the foreleg lifts, but the elbow lifts away and the hands stay in contact. Just feel one pattern for each and every one of us is going to be a little simpler and easier. Lovely. And you do this alternating differentiated pattern to listen through the center view. Well, where is it? There's the changeover. And how do I breathe? And which direction does my head follow? And then you just rest on this side. And then the top bent elbow, bent knee in this 90-degree orientation. All you do is, do you inhale? Do you exhale? What do you do to lift them parallel to the ground? And then draw the knee and the elbow towards each other. What happens in your head? And away. And how far towards and how far away? Keep it in its comfortable, pleasant exploration. And where does your head go? Which teleceptors do you start thinking of? Is it your sight to see something? Is it a smell? Is it your mouth? Does it open? Does it close? Depends. And then slowly, instead of just bringing the elbow and the knee towards each other and away, start to open the elbow and the knee, not touching, but connected as if there was a dowel stick between them, to transition yourself onto your back. But before you totally go to your back, go back onto the side. That's it. And then you go back on your side. Then you fold again. When you fold, you can have the knee and the elbow stack. Then lift them. Follow that top hand. Start to roll to your back. When you start to feel like I could go to my back, could you draw the bottom knee and the bottom elbow towards each other to come onto your back? Both knees and elbows are in this position. You're on your back, and then roll onto the other side. Does the top elbow and knee have to suspend away from the bottom elbow and knee going to the floor so you don't fall? Good. And then slowly lift the top elbow and knee parallel with each other as if there's a dowel stick between the elbow and the knee, and start that exploration to begin to roll towards your back. Wait for the moment that instead of the bottom side just going, oh, I don't know what to do, draw the bottom elbow and knee towards each other as you feel, I'm really starting to roll to my back, so that you can roll to your back with your limbs in the air, then roll to the other side, but maintain that new top side a little bit suspended towards the ceiling until you feel it can go to the other side. You don't fall. That's it. When you get to the side, you close the arms, you close the knees. They're at 90 degrees. And start finding your way through opening to roll and folding to close on the other side. The head is just rolling on the floor. You can go, I would suggest, as slow as you can go. So that if at any moment I said, you stop. Start again. And stop. And start again. That you are balancing yourself in motion. If somebody were to have said to you, cautiously, you have to stop, that you don't fall into whatever they're telling you, no, it's dangerous. You halt right there, but you breathe. You balance yourself on your skeleton in the process of rolling. And then roll to your back, lengthen your limbs, and rest. Now, I could have easily said, go faster. But I know sometimes going faster, we go, whoa, we can get dizzy. Whoa, what am I doing? So go slow, so that at any moment, like I said, stop, start, stop, start, you can. That you are totally in control of you, not muscularly, because you feel your skeleton, that you can balance and the muscles know what to do. You don't collapse, you don't fall. And feel your contact, your breathing, that you were in the driver's seat each time, finding your pathway of ease. And then slowly, from long, how could you start to slide your legs, maybe thinking a little bit like frog legs, but not totally, so that they would just all of a sudden start to lift your knees over your chest. Your arms could grab your legs, or you don't have to. The arms could come back into this position, that you could roll to a side, and that you could roll up to sit. And then you sit. How do you want to sit? Side sitting, cross-legged. And then you pause in sitting. You collect yourself. You're breathing. There's no need to have to transition to another position until you feel, I'm good. And then slowly, at your own time, transition into standing. Where are your limbs, your levers that support you? How do you breathe? Where do you look? And then you stand tall, grounded. Your feet are like roots of a tree grounding into the earth, and that equal and opposite force of gravity up through your structure, stacking your structure, your bones, so that the musculature just works efficiently. It doesn't have to keep you from falling this way or falling that way. And then turn around yourself. Look this way. Look that way. And when you turn around to yourself, did you start from the top down? Sure. Then start from the bottom up. That's it. So that you can do either or. And have a little walk. Another variation on rolling through oppositional patterns.